Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man podcast. I'm your host, David Chambers, and this is one of my mini episodes I do on a Sunday, and I usually record them on the day that you actually get to hear this, or the day it gets released. Because I just see what's there for me, see what's there in terms of what I've been working with men in my coaching. And this week, something that's really coming to me is direction. Like, I'm running a group program at the moment, which I've called Men's Dating Accelerator. It's a 5-week program. For a couple of weeks in, and I'm just seeing that the men in their lives, in their dating lives, their relationships, and dating lives and lives with these guys, it's like there's a lack of direction, right? And I've talked to a couple of my clients about this week, so I'm going to dive into talking about this. So when we are kind of in our 30s and 40s, there is like a very natural urge for us to like want to find direction. We spend like our 20s, not all of us, many of us though, spend our 20s like trying things, exploring who we are, like getting drunk, lots of sex, not lots of sex, but like some sort of adventuring, like figuring out what it means to be an adult. I think the 20s are. Right. And then we get into our 30s and we start thinking a bit further forward. We start thinking we want something meaningful. We want more. We want to consolidate. Right. And we get into our 40s and then we really kind of hone in on consolidations, whether that's family, whether that is career, a business. Like that's the time that it happens. And it's not the same for everyone in the same timeline. But what I'm seeing in my work, and I mainly work with men in their 30s and 40s, like, 95% of my clients are men in their 30s and 40s. And a lot of them are feeling lost. They're feeling lost in dating. They're feeling lost in relationships, right? And something I see is like when we lack direction, we feel trapped. It's very odd, isn't it? It's like we lack direction, we feel trapped. And we lack direction, we have lots of options often, but we feel trapped. We feel like life is small because really having direction creates freedom. Like I feel like I have a lot of direction and meaning and purpose in my life. And I feel like quite a lot of freedom actually of mind. Like I'm not wondering like what I should be doing if my life is going in the right direction. I'm kind of quite, I feel quite settled on where I'm going and what I'm doing. Right. And I see something in dating as well. It's like when men lack direction, they struggle to meet women. Like women are attracted to men with direction. Right. If you can bring direction to the moment, which would be like leading the conversation, clarity in word, but it also can be like leading your life. So when she's like, hey, like, what are you up to with your life? You might be like, I'm a cleaner right now. But what I'm really passionate about doing with my life is I want to be like a physicist. And like how I'm going about that, or I'm saving this money to get into this course to do this thing, is actually more attractive than the man who's like, I'm a physicist and I don't really like this. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I've been doing this for 20 years and I've hated it for 18 years. But, I just don't know what to do or how to change or blah, 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 blah. Because the cleaner's where he's at, but he's clear where he's going and what he wants for himself. The guy's been a physicist for 20 years, doesn't want to be there and has taken no action, right? And has changed nothing even though he's hated it. And that will... For a woman, she hears that and she's like, this is how he's going to treat me in a relationship. If you're a man and you lack direction, what you're subconsciously telling a woman is that I will not give our relationship direction. That's powerful, that, right? So if you're not having direction in your life, you're subconsciously telling the women that you meet and you date that I will not give direction to our dating lives. And if you're not a man of action, you will show to her, and you're not backing up your vision with action. You're going to show her that, when we have a relationship, I am not going to take action to move things in the direction that I want them to and that you want them to, and that we agree. Quick little tidbit in there. So for some of us men, we grew up in houses where people lack direction. Maybe your parents weren't people who were particularly confident. They were very anxious. They were very fearful. They were very risk adverse, right? All these things create a lack of direction. Or maybe they were just very indecisive people and you've kind of inherited it. No one really taught you how to make decisions and how to have the courage and bravery to do so. Again, this is something I see a lot with men that I kind of work with. And it's a common thing for as well with these men is they say yes to things they don't want to. They say yes to things like, they're doing things and you're like, they don't really want to live this way, right? It's not what they want to do. So why your life lacks direction? First of all, there's a lack of emotional resilience. When we lack emotional resilience, and we lack emotional intelligence, right, we will struggle to create direction because we will be at the mercy of the day-to-day emotions and fears and worries and anxieties that get projected onto us by the world, right? What's outside of us, our family, our friends, society, right? Our own pain and wounding as well will throw up a lot of emotions, and they will cloud our judgment and our clarity to make decisions and go in a direction and formulate what it is we want for ourselves. So we'll just be at the mercy of our emotions constantly. And what's the solution to this? Healing. You know, healing some of these wounds and patterns. You know, if it's for you, there's like a habit of, let me just think about this. Like if you've got a habit, for instance, of fear of rejection, or like a lot of negativity, right? Then there's some pattern, there's some habit you have, there's some wounding you have about that, around that area. Like if it's rejection, then it's like, oh, you don't feel you're good enough. And it's like, okay, what work do you need to do around this good enough feeling, this good enoughness, right? Is there affirmations? Is there embodiment practices? Is it showing up with other men and being, you know, helped by those men and guided by somebody, right? And this is something I see a lot. It's just like we don't lack emotional resilience to move through difficult emotions and keep heading towards what we want. Another thing I see with a lot of men that lack direction is indecisiveness. This constant inability to just make a decision, fearful of making the wrong decision, fearful of making the decision to hurt other people. And this stifles life, because when we're just fearful of our decisions constantly, it stifles our life and we get stuck. We don't go anywhere. We don't do the things we want to do. And we end up living this life that's in limbo. It's not what we want, and it's not what we completely hate. And it's just in this place where we feel numb and hurt and bored and disillusioned with life, right? We feel like we're not really living. This is a really common thing for men, living this kind of indecision. And sometimes it's not your whole life is full of indecision. It might just be one area. It might be your dating life that's full of indecision. It might be your relationship that's full of indecision. It might be your career, right? Because there's a lot of emotions that are coming up, point before, that cloud you from being able to make a decision towards what you want. Because ultimately, you're not that clear on what you want, right? And you're not clear on what you want because maybe you're afraid to create a vision. Maybe you're afraid to stake a claim and go, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to go after, right? And being okay with the fact that that journey from where you are to where you want to get to is not a straight journey. It's going to be a lot of detours and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make wrong decisions. But there has to be an acceptance that that's okay, because that's part of life. And if you can't accept that, we're back to the emotional problem of growing in emotional resilience and intelligence as well. Another point here around lacking direction is when we have vague goals, we will have poor direction. It sounds really simple, right? But as a coach, I'm about creating specific goals. And the number of times I speak to men, whether that's on Instagram, the DMs, or men in workshops, and I ask them like, oh, what do you want for this year? They're like, I want to be happy. And I'm like, okay, cool. What does happy look like for you? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, what does it feel like for you to be happy? Like, if you're happy, what will be happening in your life? What's going to be around you that tells you that you're happy? And this is it. We don't have clear goals, right? We don't have goals that we can look at and be like, I've hit this or I've not hit this. Then we're going to end up with lack of direction, because the goal we're moving towards is constantly moving. It doesn't actually have it's like like I call a cloud. It's just like this space, and we don't know when we're actually there or in it or not in it. And then we use that vague goal to beat ourselves up and say we're not good enough, we're not doing well enough. And to the antidote to vague goals and lack of direction is creating a vision for yourself, right? And choosing who you're going to step into being, because there's who you are being now, vague goals, lacking direction, and there's a person you want to be, right? And you're already this person. There's a part of you that's already this person, and it's just being more of this person in your life, right? And it's making a choice and staking a claim to yourself and living into being that person, right? Living into that being and that life or that relationship, and taking action in line with the vision, the being that you're living into, and the life that you want. And in many ways, this is incredibly simple to do, right? But not easy, right? To do this, because you have the goals and you have the vision and it's daily work, right? But it beats having this lack of direction. The next thing is, I see this a lot. Inaction is this thing that just keeps coming up in my coaching with people and speaking to people, is this inaction. They might have some goals, they might have a vision, but they're taking next to no important action towards it. They're distracted by other things, they're overworking, underworking, they're getting distracted by TV and phones and women and all sorts of things, right? Causing a lack of action on the goals. And I think that one about women, for a lot of men, including myself in the past, women, sex, dating was a distraction from my goals, from taking action on my goals, because it was easier for me to do those things. It was easy for me to go on lots of dates and sleep with lots of women. My goals were hard. So in that way, my emotional body wants me to go towards what's easy instead of what's hard, even though what's hard is what I really want. And the thing about, if you're lacking action on goals, is really accountability is what you need. Like, that's the antidote to this, right? You want to create more direction in your life around your goals and taking action on them. You need accountability. You need to be willing to allow yourself to be held accountable, whether that's you doing it yourself, that's accountability buddy, a coach or a mentor, like, because otherwise it's not going to happen for you. You know, I'm thinking of like some of my clients now who, you know, I'm thinking of a guy, he was single and he wanted to get in a relationship. So we created accountability in our coaching. I'm thinking of another guy who wanted to just expand his life and do more with himself and have some goals and start moving towards them. Create the accountability. What's happening? He's making his goals. He's doing fun things. He's living the life more and more of what he wants to live. Another guy whose relationship, there was no intimacy and there was no accountability for him. Him and his partner were disconnected and so forth. He seeked my support. We created intimacy in his relationship. He's having amazing sex. Another man who wanted to create intimacy in his relationship came to me. We created the support for him to do that. You know, another man comes to me around confidence. That's a goal we had. He wasn't taking any action. So we created accountability, gave him new perspective. Accountability and support and mentorship are so powerful in getting you into action in your goals. And we don't always think about this because we are thinking from this fearful place of like, oh, if I tell somebody, they're going to think I'm stupid. I'm going to experience shame. But in fact, it's the very thing that's going to bring you there. Because I've just mentioned all those men to me, and when they came to me, I was just like, cool, man, I understand how you got here, you know, because I've been there in some capacity in my life. So another place in which we cause this lack of direction is a lack of balance. I kind of touched upon it before, overworking or underworking, you know, like if there's anyone that I fall into most of all is this lack of balance, and I go into overworking, right? And it's a hard one because we feel like we're doing a lot and we're wondering why our life isn't moving in the way we want. But it's like we're overworking in the wrong areas. We're doing the wrong stuff in the wrong place, right? We're not living in alignment with the vision we want, or we're not having good discernment about the direction and how we need to get there and what can help us, right? And this one is another one where support and mentorship really helps, because there's someone else looking at it, someone else to look at and go, hey, like, why are you spending 5 hours a week, I don't know, doing yoga when you really want to lose fat? Like, why are you not doing like weights, or why are you not doing like a lot of cardio, or, you know, HIIT classes or whatever? So it's like living in alignment with the thing that you want and living into the values that you have for yourself, right? And this is another one, isn't it? If you lack balance, often we lack values and we're not clear on our values as well. So these are all these pieces that interact with ourselves. Another piece here is also around like lack of attunement to other people. I'm seeing this so much in men. I think there's an episode that's going to come out in a few weeks where I have a wonderful guest. Me and her, we talk about this lack of attunement. It's like men lack attunement to other people. They mainly lack attunement to themselves, right? They lack attunement, emotional attunement to themselves. Like, what am I feeling? What do I want? What's important to me? Because we're so attuned as men to others and what they think about us. Like, what other people think I should do? They think I should have a nice car and a big house and so forth. We follow the kind of relationship ladder, or we follow the kind of career ladder, because we're not attuned to our own emotional desires, because we learn from a young age that those aren't important and what other people think of us is more important. If you want to know more about this, type in Manbox. Did a wonderful episode about that. But we have to learn to kind of feel our feelings and emotions, to learn what our desires and wants are, what our boundaries are, right? So that we can start to express what we want through our life. Yeah. And part of that attunement to other people is also to feel ourselves, but also to put our attention on other people and to pay attention and notice, right? What's happening with other people? What's the impact of this action when I do this or when I say that thing? And like almost to be a student of socializing, right? And building our confidence in this sort of area. And the more time we spend around men who are honest, who are good at this, who are well skilled in these sorts of things, the better we get at this sort of thing as well. And now we're down into the last couple of points, but this next one's a really big one. It's like a lot of the men that we come across, they lack a deeper purpose and meaning for their life. So because they lack a purpose and meaning, their lives are often dictated by other people. So they are a bit lost. You know, they do lack a bit of direction because they're in a career. They're like, I'm just kind of in this because I've always been doing this. I don't really enjoy this. I want something different. It pains me. I'm being bullied. I'm being hurt. But you just stay in it because, you know, you don't know what's meaningful to you and purposeful to you. It's a bit back into the attunement, like you're not attuned to your own feelings, emotions, desire. And then we're back into the emotional resilience piece because there's also some fear there around actually taking the plunge and following something that's meaningful. Like a lack of self-trust in like, if I follow the thing I want, I can make that happen. And the antidote to this is courage, right? The courage to go, okay, what's important to me? Learning about what's important to you, what's meaningful to you. Look at your life. What are the things that you enjoy doing? You know, what are the things that you love trying out, that you love spending your time with? And this is how you're going to start to see like what's meaningful to you, what's purposeful to you, right? And also add in here, purpose doesn't have to be what you do for work. Your purpose can be something else. It can be something that you just do on the weekends. You know, like you might decide that your purpose is to help young boys play football, and that might be just something you do 2 nights a week and on a Sunday, right? But it gives you so much meaning and purpose to make a difference to those young boys' lives and hear them come back 5-10 years later with the messages and so forth that you get from them. You know, I always remember back to I had a cricket coach years ago. His name was John Smith, and you know, he really had a beautiful mark on my life. And you know, I was too young to ask him, and sadly he's passed away. Is like he would pick us up. He used to pick me up from my house. My mum was always busy working, often busy working, to go to cricket matches here and there on the evenings and weekends. And you know, it just absolutely lit him up to help young men be better at cricket and be better as young men. And I don't know what he did in a day. He might have, I have a feeling he was an accountant, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's like he did that on the side to bring purpose and meaning to his life. And he had the courage to do so. And that's what you need. So the last point here is around support. You lack support. A lot of us are lonely, men, right? We're very alone in what we're trying to do. We think we have to lone wolf it and do it all ourselves. But really what you need is support. You need people around you who believe in you, right? Can hold you accountable. That some of which you also need people who've done the thing you want to do, right? Maybe not the exact thing, but lifted themselves up to new things, right? And that is vital because I've got those. I've got mentors, I've got coaches, I've got friends, you know. But you need people around you to support you, to move you forward. You can't do everything on your own. This lone wolf mentality doesn't work. It really doesn't work. All the famous people, all the rich and wealthy people you see have mentors and coaches on coaches. Like they might have 3, 4, 5 at the same time. Right? It's very, very normal in the success world to be coached, to be supported, to have mastermind groups, to have like groups in that way. So this is what you need. You need to create people around you to support you in what you're doing, to help you build your confidence, to support you in whatever is important to you. And a lot of fear is going to come up like, oh, what happens if they're better than me and they judge me and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's the piece to step through because you realize that all that thinking, all those fears are very unfounded. They're really unfounded. Like I see this in the groups I run, right? I'm running a group, my 12-week program starting in the 21st of February. And men come, they're very anxious and worried about sharing what's meaningful to them and sharing what they want in their lives. And then they get into the group and they're like, this is the most supportive group of men I've ever been in my life. Wow, I feel so held. I feel so looked after. The men are so open. Like, you know, these are transformational experiences. I actually saw one of the guys yesterday for a coffee or a tea. And he was just like, the weeks he spent in the group were life-changing for him, you know? because there's something in the group that you don't know that you need, and there's things in the group that I create in groups of men that we don't even know that are not could be nourishing to us. So if you're lacking direction and you're wanting, maybe it's a relationship or dating life or even intimate in your relationship, it's like this is something that you can get from being in the group that I'm running. I'll put into the show notes a link to the interest form. So you just got to fill out. It's very simple. It's like literally name and email. And I'll get in contact with you and we'll talk about whether, your application is you coming on the program is a good fit for you. And that kicks off, like I said, in the 21st of February. If you leave it too long, then it could well be full, because I'm only taking a select number of people. And I'm not sure we're going to run it again. So really, it's a good time to jump in now, because, it's February now and you might have had some goals you started and they might not have gone anywhere really. It's very easy for us to kind of do this. So I'm going to stop because I want this episode to be 10 minutes and we're into 20 minutes already. But if you're interested in that program, do let me know. It's a group program. It's wonderful. Life-changing. So you'll see some of the quotes down below from men that have been on the program. And if you're looking for more one-to-one work, like very targeted about what you want, relationship, dating, courage, just life in general, being more of the man you want to be, then also you can drop me an email and we can have a chat about that. But I'll let you get on with the rest of the Sunday, Saturday, or whatever day you're listening to this. Yeah. Ciao, ciao.